Welcome back to Financial Fitness, everybody. I'm your host, Donald Raymond, and today, as I continue interviewing other coaches, I'm joined by Janet Hunsinger of Summerhill Financial Coaching. Welcome, Janet, to Financial Fitness.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And she has a passion for helping young adults and their parents get ready for higher education without debt, and also strategies on how to prepare to pay for higher education. So without further ado, Janet, thanks for joining us, and share a little bit about what this topic of preparing for higher education without debt means.
Yeah, thank you, Donald. Thank you so much for having me. My passion is to help young kids and educate them as well as their parents on sending them to higher education without going to debt. There's far too many young adults making these huge decisions. College, higher education is one of the biggest investments they'll ever make, next to a mortgage. And it's devastating how many people and young adults get far into debt, and then they have to make these payments when they get out.
I like how you make the comparison to a mortgage there, right? I mean, we always say the biggest expense we're ever going to have is a mortgage. A lot of people will think, well, also a car, right? A car might be a big expense, but I think more now, but up to now, I don't know that there's been a higher awareness of the financial burden and the debt associated with higher education. Do you agree?
Yes. Right. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do have a story that I will share once we get there. But the students who do go to college, a third of them end up dropping out of college. And a lot of that has to do with their finances. They're not focused, not concentrated. So yeah, it's a desire that I have to share. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So you've kind of focused your practice, your business as a financial coach. You're focusing on those students as they prepare for college or higher education, whatever that looks like for them. But also, did I hear you say you're also working with their parents? Absolutely.
A lot of parents say, well, my kid's going off to college and it's their decision. It's where they want to go. It's where, their choices. They're 18 now, but they're only 18. They're not mature enough to make such a huge decision, to make the smartest decision.
And even if they are, we want to, I don't have an 18-year-old, but I am a parent. So a 7-year-old boy, and he talks about college like he's going next year. But and we started a little fund for him, so we're going to hopefully be in a position to help him out. But yeah, I mean, even if he was 18 and mature and knew where he wanted to go, I feel like I would still want to find a way to support and encourage and give guidance through that process. I mean, I know my experience. I was lucky enough to have parents that funded my undergrad, and I feel very thankful for that. I did not experience some of the hardship and financial burden that a lot of people have and are experiencing. And I want to be able to provide that for my son and give him, like I said, that just guidance. So I can say that I don't feel prepared at this point in time to take that on. And I imagine I'm not alone. I bet there's a lot of parents out there, like you just described, they're 18. This is their choice, and I hope they get it right. But so this is something, I didn't mention this earlier when we were kind of preparing for the show, but I used to work in industry and manufacturing, and I had a colleague that used to use this phrase, and at the time it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I've kind of found, I think, a balance where I like this statement now if it's used correctly, and so I'll use it cautiously here, but I think it fits, and that's hope is not a plan, right? So I hope they get it right. I'd much rather prepare and be intentional and give them instruction and guidance and wisdom, if there's any wisdom I can share. So what little bit, I can glean from my experience and others.
I love that. I'm writing it down.
Fantastic. Well, so Janet, I'm sure you mentioned a personal story, and I know we're going to get there, like you said. You shared one statistic that a third of the students are dropping out once they begin their 4-year degree. Did I hear that correctly?
A third do drop out. They don't have the financial backing, or they're making decisions, and they have about $14,000 in loans just from going to school a little bit.
So they're just getting started. $14,000 worth of debt already accrued, and now they're not even finishing their degree for one reason or another.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the 44 million who have gone fully all the way through school, there's $1.6 trillion in student loan debt right now.
And that's a stat that you can find in a lot of places now. I think that's, and I'm glad that it's becoming, there's more awareness around that number. I've got family that falls into this category of graduating with student loan debt, and having a debt that they're not sure they're ever going to be able to pay off. And, currently they're suspended, but they're not going away. And so, that number, what did you say?
$1.6 trillion in student loan debt.
$1.6 trillion. That's a huge number. That's hard to even imagine.
Yeah, and a lot of young adults are putting off getting married, putting off starting a family because they have this debt they have to pay back.
Wow.
The average payment is like almost $400 a month, $393 per month. That they're already, as soon as they get out of college, they have to start paying that back. So they're putting off getting married, putting off having families because they have this heavy burden of debt.
Well, that sounds like it might ring. And again, I think I'm asking now for the personal story because I feel like there's more here. So how did you get this passion? Why is this such a high value proposition for you?
So being a coach, a Ramsey Preferred Financial Coach, I was asked to do a talk through my church on higher education. And I dove right in because I just felt so passionate about it. And that's where I want to go and continue educating others, because I was 17 years old, 18 years old, graduated high school, wasn't quite sure what I want to do quite yet. So I did make the smart choice, and I went to community college for 2 years. For 1 year. I took my general education courses, my language. It was fine. Then I decided I wanted to be a nurse. So I think I applied to one school 30 minutes away from my house and got accepted into the nursing program. Didn't have any concept of what the cost was. Didn't have anyone guiding me, saying, apply for scholarships, grants, any means of paying for it. So I got accepted. I was like, woohoo, I'm going to nursing school.
Yep.
Started, I knew I had to work, so I was working. It was a private school. Had I had the guidance, I would have probably commuted or lived off campus. I had to live on campus because it's what I wanted. I went with my emotions, what I wanted, not through wisdom. So I lived on campus and was worried every semester, how was I going to pay for it? Took out loan upon loan upon loan. I was not focused. I was working 2 jobs. Then my one job took me where I moved. I moved to Texas. I shouldn't have done that. And then once I moved, the student loans were coming due.
Yeah.
So then I remember, so college was a good time. I remember just not being focused, as I said, but I didn't have $1 to go to a party. If all my friends were going out, I didn't have $1. But yet, what was I doing at a private university? I did not belong there. So once I was done, moved away, made another bad decision. I was on the phone with the student loan office, and they told me what my payments would be. And I remember being upset about it. And I asked them flat out, how long is this going to take for me to pay this off? And he said, 30 years.
30 years.
30 years to pay off my student loans.
So
I just remember
we got to pause on that for a second, because this is now a 30-year mortgage that most people are taking out. And Janet, I know you coach people through getting a mortgage the right way. And because we're both trained through the Ramsey Solutions program, we have a formula for that, and part of that formula is 15 years, right? Now, there's certainly exceptions to every rule, but we want to put people in a position to succeed. So even the mortgage, which really should be more than a student loan, if you end up with a student loan or if you have a student loan, is going to be a 15-year commitment, but you're now facing 30 years of student loan debt.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I was not even working in my field that I went to school for. So yes, I was very upset. I just remember I broke down and cried on the phone with the poor gentleman on the other end at the student loan office after he told me there would be a 30 years to pay it off. Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes. So that's my passion. Make the right decisions, choose a good path. You don't need to go to a private fancy university, even though that's where you might feel that you want to go. But making a better decision is much, much smarter.
So this is interesting too, right? So you packaged it as a private school, a fancy school, right? Other words that kind of fit that category are going to be Ivy League school, right? Somebody might say, I need to go to this Ivy League school. What's the temperature in the market right now, this higher education market, for getting a degree at a particular school versus getting the degree, right? So are people starting to accept that you can potentially get the same education from many different educational institutions?
Absolutely. If you consider a community college, they have their math, your English, your languages. No one looks at where you went to school, where you had those subjects. They don't say, oh, had that at community college. It's all, are you qualified for the job?
Are you qualified? Yep, yes. There it is.
Yes.
So this sort of starts to create a line. Like in my mind, I'm starting to visualize now. We've got this line that's getting more in focus between what we want and what we need, right? We need the education. We may want that education, or someone may want the education that's connected to a particular name. But when it comes to an employer, now there's obviously always exceptions to this, right? There's going to be somebody out there listening that says, I got the job I got because I went to this school. Sure. I get that, right? That happens. Probably, and I'm just guessing, but I think I can say with a fair amount of confidence, it was more about a relationship than the school that you went to, right? You built rapport with somebody. You got a recommendation or a referral, or you had an internship or a work program that started you into an industry that probably resulted in the job. So maybe it was the school, maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was a little bit of both. But employers today want to know that, and you said it, that you're qualified, right? That's what's important.
And think about this, Donald. When you go to the doctor, you go in for a physical, or if something's wrong, if you're sick, how many people ask the doctor where they went to school?
Which school? Yeah. You don't?
Not many. I'm sure none.
You don't?
No, even a plumber, you don't ask where did you go to school?
Where did you get your education? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I'm going to start asking that. I'm going to see how that goes.
Yep.
Well, okay. So we've heard your story. So can we fast forward? Can I ask a personal question and fast forward
Absolutely.
To today? Where are you on that journey?
Right now?
Yeah.
I am teaching young adults not to choose a private school or any school that they can't afford. You want to go to school that you can't afford and hopefully pay cash for.
Yeah. Stay away from the debt. So, okay. So you're teaching people. So that means that you've got a plan, you've got a method, and you're giving advice. So what does that look like for somebody? If somebody just heard you say, stay away from the debt, but they're thinking, well, I've got, a college that I'm looking at and I'm a sophomore maybe, and I started talking to my parents and we've started getting applications ready and stuff like that. And we know how much it's going to cost. We don't have that money, right? So a student loan is my only option, right? So if somebody is hearing this right now and that's what they're thinking, what are you going to say to that person?
Student loan, the need of getting a student loan is just a myth. You don't need to get a student loan.
Okay.
It all starts with your school choice, a school that you can afford.
Okay. Big priority on choose the right school, right? With an emphasis on have a budget. What can you afford?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You won't go to, if you're car shopping and you went to a car dealer and you saw the Mercedes Benz over here and then the Toyota over here, it's choice. You have to make a choice.
And if all I need is a car, I don't need a Mercedes or a Toyota. Right?
Very good. Yes.
I just need a car.
Exactly.
Yep. Oh, I get it. I get it. All right. Well, let's dive in a little deeper. So you mentioned, I heard you say 2-year or community college.
Yes.
So what other, choose the right college, right? How many different categories are we looking at here?
So community college is a great option. You go to community college for 2 years for your general courses. They do have 2-year degrees you could get at a community college. You could choose, if you choose a state school, you want to choose an in-state school, the state that you live in, as opposed to going out of state lines. You'll save a bundle there. And then also maybe not choosing the private school because it costs a lot more. The difference between community college, which is like $9,000, $10,000 a year, to private school is up to $34,000, $36,000 per year.
Wow.
So you must look at costs. Absolutely look at the cost.
That's staggering. That's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So upwards in excess of 30 grand a year.
Per year. And that's not including room and board. That's
wow.
for the college. Yes.
Amazing. Okay. And remember, we've already said it. You can get the education at these other schools, right? So spending the extra money does not get you a better education.
Exactly.
Same education, arguably better school for different reasons, depending on how we're measuring the quality of a school, right? Could be a sporting program. It could be connections into a particular industry. But if we're just trying to get qualified, if we're just trying to get the education, lots of ways to do it and a lot cheaper ways to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Another great option, if you don't choose the college route, is trade school.
Okay.
Which is much less expensive than a state school or a private school. Absolutely.
So trade
and
school.
You can learn, it's hands-on training, like HVAC, plumbing, business, medical assistant. Trade schools are another great option.
Awesome. Yeah, so trade school. So somebody who's not looking to go into white collar office building, but looking maybe just learn a trade. And does this sort of fit the category? Because I'm starting to, as I'm coaching, I'm talking to more and more people that are kind of separating their lives a little bit between high school and college, right? There's almost like a sabbatical now, an intentional time period where people are spending a little bit of time out in the world. Maybe they're just starting a family early, getting a jump start on that. Maybe they're getting the 2-year trade school degree and spending a little time saving money for the house, the car, the family, the higher education. Are you seeing more of that? I feel like I am, but I don't have statistics to back that up. This is just an observation.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of push for, go to the right school, go to the, 4-year university. But now there has been a push on, don't put the pressure on the young adult on attending a 4-year university. Trade schools are just as fine as a 4-year university. Yeah.
And you're setting yourself up to go out into the workplace and start earning an income right away. I mean,
yes, and they have hands-on training right there.
And I know because I've participated in this. As I said, I used to work in industry and manufacturing, and we actually partnered with a local school very often to audit their educational or their trades programs, so that they were getting people ready in the way that we needed them to be ready, so that we could offer them jobs even before they graduated from the program. And they got on-the-job training, and we were helping to build curriculum. And I mean, there's a lot of partnerships there. You could potentially be working in your first semester of a trade school degree and be paying for school in real time, just cash flowing the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hope people take a pause maybe after listening to this, hearing what you're saying, and just challenge what they believe, right, about everything that they think they know, right, about the educational process, getting that higher education, and separating the wants and the needs, or the nice to haves. We can always put, more. You go to a all of a sudden, it's a terrible analogy probably, but you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, right? You can always put more on the plate, but do you need it? Like
Exactly.
you have your meal, you know what you want, and you can go get that. But you've got access to all this other stuff you probably don't need, right? So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and keep in mind that it's just temporary. It's 2 to 4 years of your life.
Ooh, that's a really good
as
point.
opposed to paying for 10, 20, 30 years of making payments.
Wow. So I don't think I've ever heard somebody make that challenge and put it that way, right? So yeah, 2 to 4 years. So absolutely. Why would I commit to paying up to 30 years of student debt for a 2 to 4 year decision? Now, granted, that decision is setting me up to get a job that hopefully is gonna carry forward. But that job's supposed to be paying me. I'm not supposed to be paying for that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. It is very temporary. It's a very short amount of time compared to our entire lives. So that's a great point for how that fits into the decision making process, right? So all of a sudden, maybe I was thinking about this higher cost option, and then I throw this variable of I'm only going to be there for 2, 4 years. 5, if I spend an extra semester, or maybe a couple extra if I go on to get a master's, but it's still a very short amount of time. So how much time do I really want to commit to financially? Wow.
Exactly.
No, that was a good one.
Yeah, and college education is very important, but doing it smart is
Just as important,
absolutely,
if not more important. What good is it if you're just paying the degree off for the rest of your life, then you never get to live your life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. All right. What have I forgot to ask? What else do we need to talk about?
So as far as after school choice, say you have a college that you have chosen, you want to first apply for your FAFSA, which is your federal aid.
Mm-hmm.
So after you get your federal aid letter, then it'll tell you how much you're expected to pay, how much your family contribution will be. And then, of course, after that, you want to apply for grants to see where you qualify, how much school will be covered. And then the third part would be scholarships. Scholarships are so important. You should consider scholarships like a part-time job, or even a full-time job. I heard of a story of a mother who made her daughter apply for 3 scholarships per day. And even if a scholarship is $500,
Yep.
and you get it,
It counts.
if it took you 30 minutes to fill out an application and file for the scholarship, and you get $500, it's absolutely worth it.
Can't get too many jobs where you get paid $500 for 30 minutes.
It's so worth it.
Yep. No, that's a good point. Treat it like a job, a full-time job. Put everything, spend the time while you have it. When you're in high school, less responsibility. You've got time to fill out the student aid, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what I hear you talking about is the how, right? How am I going to prepare? I'm thinking about a budget. How much money do I have access to? How much more money could I get access to?
Exactly. So then once you find out how much you owe, you have to go to work. You have to get a job. We don't want you to be going to college and thinking that you just have, your schoolwork. Statistics show that those who have a job along with school, their GPAs higher because they're more focused.
Sure.
They're working on their goal of finishing school. They don't have much time to hang out and party like a lot of kids.
And they're committed to it.
Who knows?
Yeah, you're working the job, you're paying for it, you're satisfying all the requirements of the grants and the other financial aid that you've applied for, and you're still treating it like a job, right? While you're in school, and you have a part-time job or a couple of part-time jobs to help offset the extra cost. And so statistically, because some people would say, well, I don't want my kid having the distraction, right? So this is where we're coaching the parents. You're coaching me now, right? For my son in the future, a parent might say, we don't want our kid to be distracted with a job. We want them to focus on their school. But you're saying that by taking away the work, they have more free time and they actually are more distracted, and their GPA is lower than the ones that are working, helping to pay for their degree and have that distraction. It's a good distraction.
Yes, exactly.
I think that might make an impression on some people. It made an impression on me just now. That's fantastic. So work while you're in school. focus on
Yes,
it, commit to
there's
it.
work study programs, and you can also get a job off campus.
Sure.
A lot of colleges have the work study, which is very beneficial. That goes right to your expenses. And then off campus job, you have to learn how to budget then, which we'll get into the budgeting. Yes, you absolutely have to learn how to budget.
So, okay, so you said we'll get into the budgeting. So let's dive in if that's where we're headed.
Sure.
Yeah.
So anyone who has income coming in, you have to plan where every dollar goes.
Yes.
And that's what we're trained as coaches. All of our clients we sit down with, we assign $1 to a category for every dollar that you bring in. And that's so important. Same for college kids. If they have an income coming in, they have to know where their money's going. Each and every paycheck.
And it's a good time to learn some financial responsibility, right? So
Yes.
all your money's going towards your degree now, but you're doing it intentionally. You're planning, you're building these budgets. We're giving every dollar a job, an assignment, right? So when we leave college, now hopefully the money's not going toward the degree anymore. It's going toward life. And so there's more categories to support, right? Life gets more complicated, but we're prepared. We've learned how to do it during our time getting the degree, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Yeah, teach them early. So if somebody wants to, let's say they're watching this and they're thinking, okay, so what's the next step? Like, where do I go from here? So all of this sounds great. What do I do? Who do I reach out to? Where do I go? What would you recommend? What's the first step?
Sure. It all depends on how old your children are. Maybe they're toddlers. You can start setting up accounts for them. There's ESAs. There's 529s to start saving. Now, if they're older, you learn the ways of choosing the right school. It's all about the school choice, and then hopefully paying cash for that, which is going on a budget, applying for scholarships, getting your aid, getting your grants.
Yeah. So get started. Fill out I said I've got a 7-year-old, so I'm not filling out any grants yet, but we did start a 529 here in Georgia. So they've got a state-funded program, not funded, but a state-supported program. It's a 529. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I don't remember the actual title of it right now, but it is an educational account, and we're feeding that slowly. And he's 7 years old, but he knows about it. He participates in the budgeting. We have financial discussions at home. That's what his dad does for a living. So he gets to hear probably too much, but he loves it, and he's not scared of it. And that's one of the things, it hasn't come up in today's conversation, but it comes up a lot as I'm talking to other coaches, talking to clients. As I was brought up, I don't know that scared's the right word, but we just didn't talk about money. It was kind of off limits. It just wasn't this thing that we talked about. And so I kind of entered the world not knowing how to approach this concept of finances and taking care of my household, my financial portfolio, right? How do you manage all this stuff? And then, when it came to school, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have my folks prepare ahead of time, but I had no idea what that meant, how much they were saving, how much it was costing. I just knew that I didn't have the burden necessarily.
Right. And that's why it's so important, yes, to educate the parents as well as the young adult.
Yeah, I think so too. Looking back, I have much more respect for the sacrifices they must have made to make that possible. Looking forward, I'm trying to make sure that we're, my wife and I are putting enough focus and intentionality into that future need so that we don't get surprised when we get there. Because the other variable that we haven't talked about yet, but that I think is worth mentioning, is that school's getting more expensive every year.
Absolutely.
That price is not going down, it's going up. So, we've got 10 more years before our son will be making a commitment.
Absolutely.
And it's going to get a lot more expensive over the next 10 years.
I would like to mention as well, for parents, it's not good to co-sign for your child.
Okay.
You are going to retire. You need to think about your retirement. And it's also not a smart idea to take out loans out for your child for them to go to school. So not only the students, it's not a good idea to take out loans. It's not a good idea for the parents to take out loans for their child.
So no loans. We're planning ahead. We're getting grants. We're getting scholarships. We're working. We're cash flowing. we're just not going to borrow money, right?
Exactly.
If we can help it. Yeah.
Yes.
And again, like you said, it's a short amount of time. So maybe somebody's thinking, well, I'm not going to be ready next year to start school because I don't have enough money saved. Okay. Wait. Go work. Exactly. Right? Don't go to school next year. Nothing says you have to go to school next year. We said earlier that a lot of people are taking that intentional break. And maybe they're getting the 2-year degree. Maybe they're going to work and saving up a little bit more. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure put on the young adult to go to college right after high school. Right. And I do understand that, to stay in the momentum of the school. But if you are going to go into debt for that, it's best to take a year off, work, save as much as you can, and then do the steps that we spoke about. Do it the right way. And we see a lot of people going back to school, too. The degree that a lot of people graduated with and maybe worked most or all of a career in is not getting them to the end, not getting them all the way through retirement. And so now they're going back in their 50s and 60s, getting another degree to go basically start a new career. So if you could delay just 2 or 3 years in your 20s, or even late teenage years, 18, 19, before you turn 20, if you wait until you're 20 and you get a little bit more life experience, have a little bit more time to save, maybe now you can look a little bit farther down the road and see you've tried a career on, you've spent a little bit of time in the workplace, maybe you know what you don't want to do, and now maybe you have a better idea of what you do want to do. I think there's just so much value in that time that you almost can't monetize. You can't put a dollar figure associated with it, but there's still a lot of value there. Absolutely. I know a gentleman who has 4 degrees and did not take out any loans. He went to school, got his degree, went to work, saved, went back to school, got another degree, and so on and so forth. He has 4 degrees and 0 student loan debt. So it absolutely is possible.
It's possible. Yep.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yep. All you have to do is commit to it.
Yes.
Yep.
Another point that I want to mention is in high school, if your child's in high school, keep up the good grades, go to advanced placement classes where you can get college credits while you're still in high school. And that'll save a lot before you even get into college. You could get credits.
Okay. Yeah. So get a jump start. Maybe you could even take a semester or 2 out of the degree term.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So so you don't get a discount, but if you can shorten the time frame, it's going to cost less. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Well, Janet, I want to say thank you. I don't want to cut you off if we're not done with this conversation, but we've talked about a lot. Is there anything else that we need to touch on before we kind of show people how to reach out, connect with you? And
so just some resources. Ramsey put together a documentary called Borrowed Future, and it does explain the dark side of the student loan industry and how we don't need to take out student loans. So it's something that you might want to look into. It's called Borrowed Future.
Fantastic resource. Yep. Highly recommend it.
And also there are many resources. There's a book called The Ultimate Scholarship Book. So it goes by year. So if you're going to college next year, get the Ultimate Scholarship Book 2023. Anthony O'Neill has a book called Debt Free Degree. And then Ken Coleman also has a book called From Paycheck to Purpose that has a lot of good points on, finding your purpose and taking the smart route.
Yeah, no, those are all great resources. I really liked Paycheck to Purpose. That's probably one of my favorite books. And he's got a lot of other resources related to that book too. So if people go searching for that, they're going to find other resources associated with it as well.
Absolutely.
The Ultimate Scholarship Book, that's a new one. I hadn't heard of that. All right, well, Janet, thank you for opening our eyes a little bit, talking to us about higher education, getting there without debt, and really just encouraging us that it is possible, right? No discouragement here, no pointing fingers at anybody that has taken on debt to get a higher education, but just know that it's possible to do it without debt. And if you've got kids especially, be thinking about their need for education in the future and plan early. If you're not comfortable doing an education account, one that's specifically geared toward that, has penalties associated if you don't use it for education, just start any investment account for a savings target so that you have those resources available if all you're doing is helping somebody get their life started even, or helping them with that interim time between when high school ends and future higher education begins. We don't know what that looks like for everybody. So thank you for the encouragement. I'm both encouraged and I'm looking at this from a slightly different perspective now, just after this conversation. So I really appreciate the insights. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's been an honor, Donald. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been great. No. Well, I close the show the same way every time. But before I do, just give you an opportunity to share just a couple of closing thoughts with your community out there.
Yeah. So just want to make smart decisions. And it's biblical too. The Bible tells us don't go into debt.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good points in Proverbs on finances and making smart decisions. So I do look toward the Bible for wisdom. Absolutely.
There's no better guide. No better guide. Absolutely.
Not.
That's right. Well, amen to that. And as always, stay focused, stay intentional, and improve your financial fitness. See you next time.